Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We have ourselves an ACL semi-finals between eAe Hype and Clan Dog. I'm your host, Saint D from eAe Gaming, and hopefully we have an explosive game in our midst. Both teams are fighting to get a shot at the title, to get a shot at the finals. And right off the bat, we've got some bans coming through. eAe Hype batting out the bristleback. Now that's an interesting ban going in. It's a signal of something that they may intend to bring out coming out into their first few picks. It appears to me they're trying to ward off a counter pick against something they might be picking. Nonetheless, we've got the Faceless Void pickup band, which essentially is one of those top tier heroes who you don't want to deal up against with, especially considering you can go up against him in the off lane, which means once he gets that chronosphere, he's going to be moving around the map, making sure your life's a living hell. And then over on Clan Dog, they ban out the Doom, they ban out the Brewmaster. Now the Doom, you have to ban Doom because you don't want to deal with a full-on with your 5-man lineup going up against a Doom who's essentially going to nullify one of your heroes, and he's just so damn tanky. Once the mid game to the late game gets underway, and Brewmaster, one of those team fighting control powerhouses, another one of those heroes you don't want to deal with. And looking at both lineups right now, Skywrath Mage and Wraith King being picked up over on eAe Hype. Now the Wraith King could be support, could be core. So right now their lineup is a little bit more open in that respect, but they pick up the Skywrath Mage, a great lane controller, the Wraith King as well. If that is their support duo, they have very good roaming potential, and even their lane presence is pretty good. And then you look over at Clan Dog. Now their story is a different story. They want to push, and they want to push fast. They have the Shadow Shaman, they have the Pugna, and these are guys that take down towers pretty fast. You've got the Nether Blast, you've got the Serpent Wards, and you couple those together, you're losing territory, and you're losing it fast. eAe Hype, recognizing that the push is strong coming out from Clan Dog, they decide to ban out the Death Prophet. It's just one of those heroes you never want to round out a lineup that is completely centered around pushing. In Clan Dog, interesting ban. They ban out the Bane. Now, a Bane ban out it's possibly a response to the Wraith King because those two kind of work together, but then again it's assuming that the Wraith King is a core as opposed to a support, but he could most likely be a support because as a support he works pretty well with the Skywrath Mage. And then you see Razor being banned out. Now Razor being banned out in the second phase is pretty interesting. Most teams will pick him up in the first phase, they'll ban it out in the first phase. So it's pretty interesting seeing him banned. But essentially you don't want to deal with a Razor when you've got a push because he actually deals very well with pushes, and on top of that he would possibly give eAe Hype access to push, even on top of the fact that they seem to be going for a very fight oriented lineup. And then eAe Hype, interesting ban out. They ban out the Tide Hunter when they see that Clan Dog is certainly going the push route. But then again, Pugna and Shadow Shaman do work considerably well in team fighting lineups, so it could be smoke and mirrors in terms of the draft phase going forward. And eAe Hype going bold, going for the hard deeps, considering that they seem to be assuming this game could go into the later stages of the mid game, could go into the late game. Luna being picked up works very well in the tri-lane scenario, and I mean she's got Wraith King and Skywrath Mage backing her up, so she'll be having a great tri-lane setup unless they decide to go for the aggressive tri-lane, because that's always an option when you have a Wraith King and a Skywrath Mage. Clockwork being picked up from Clan Dog. Okay, so now they definitely have push, but now they have access to pick off, because once Clockwork gets online, he's going to be moving around the map with his hook shots, with his cogs, and trying to make sure he disrupts as much of eAe's early to mid game stages. But once again, I look at then you see the Kunkka being picked up on eAe Hype. The deeps are strong if this lineup doesn't get stopped. and it goes much later than what I'm seeing from Clan Dog. So perhaps Clan Dog will reply with an equally strong. You might get to see Viper. We might, and unfortunately, Razors, they banned out the Razor themselves. So we might get to see Clock. You might get to see the Viper. We might get to see what other mid heroes would they like. Could they go for? I'm not entirely sure they'd want to go for the TA, and they go for an Undying. Okay, wow, this is pretty bold coming out from Clan Dog, because this lineup that they have right now, it is essentially very reliant on the early game. They need to get their early game online and online very quickly, because I mean, you've got Shadow Shaman, you've got Pugna, you've got Undying. Undying is one of those heroes who's very strong in the early game, even in the mid game stages, but he needs momentum. You need to be very aggressive, you need to be very aggressive very early, and you need momentum to make this hero work. Because going into the later stages of the mid game, going into the late game, he kind of falls off in terms of what he can give you. And if eAe height does get to that stage, I mean, they've got a Wraith King who's a support but can double up as an extra core. They've got Luna who's going to be farming. If she gets farmed, she's going to be at the point where she's dealing so much damage. I mean, and then on top of that, you have a Kunkka. The Kunkka is very volatile in late game scenarios, and you don't want him getting to the late game. So I look at these lineups and I'm like, okay, eAe Hype needs to survive the early game. They need to survive the mid game. Clan Dog needs to win the early game. They need to win the mid game. And then coming out, you look at the bans coming out from both teams. eAe Hype recognizing that Viper wouldn't be the best matchup going up against Kunkka, so they ban out the Viper. And then you look over at Clan Dog, assuming that the Kunkka might not be the solo mid coming out from eAe Hype, they ban the Invoker. So if I were to put myself in their captain's shoes, they were probably thinking Kunkka could possibly go solo or the Luna, depending on what eAe Hype would go for, and they might be dealing up against an aggressive trial, and that could be what could have been going in their heads, which is not a far-fetched assumption. And then Bounty Hunter being picked up from eAe Hype, and Lycan being picked up over on Dog. Now Lycan, last pick. Wow, I'm actually surprised this hero made it through all the way to the last picking phase, to the point where he actually got picked. So the strong is pretty the pushing is pretty strong coming out from Clan Dog, and now they have a good mid to late game with the Lycan, because that means access to pushing, it means access to fighting to a certain extent. So their late game doesn't look as bad as it did, but it's still something to contend with when you look at what eAe Hype have. And going into the late game, they have a Bounty Hunter who's going to be feeding so much gold with his track gold. And nonetheless, before we get any action underway, we've got a smoke movement coming out from Dog, and it looks like eAe Hype's on the lookout for that, because they're staying very close to their tier 2s. It looks like we've got a DC coming out. Before any action gets underway, I will introduce the lineups. Over on Clan Dog, we've got Sayu on the Radiant playing up the Undying, support Undying. We've got Saber playing up the Pugna. We've got Chilla playing up the Shadow Shaman. We have Shadow playing up the Lycan, and we've got Ninja Bunny playing up on the Clockwork. Ooh, that's a bitchin' set right there. That's a bitchin' set. Over on eAe Hype on the Daya, we've got Super playing up the solo Bounty Hunter. Over on the mid lane, we've got Umarin Bra playing up the Kunkka. We've got Beavikas playing up the Skywrath Mage. We've got New Cake over on the support Wraith King, and we've got Fanes playing up the Luna. And it looks like they're indeed going for the aggressive trialing, which is, once again, it's not far-fetched, because you've got a very strong array of skill sets. You've got obviously the concussive shot coming out from the Skywrath Mage. You've got the Wraithfire Blast. You've got Fanes, who's going to be probably at some point late leveling up his lucent beam. So that's a strong aggressive tri lane, and an aggressive tri lane is the best thing to try and make sure that Dog doesn't win their early game, because Dog needs to, the onus is on Dog to win the early game. It's on them to make things happen very early, because if they don't, obviously they're going to get to a point where eAe hype just has too much to deal with. I mean, you've got Luna. If Luna goes late, it's a problem. If Wraith King goes late on top of having a Luna around, it's a problem. And then it's also a problem if you're going to be dealing with track gold on top of that. So the farm is going to be skyrocketing if things go the right way for eAe hype. Looks like smoke was expended and nothing comes of it. Now we've got another pause. We've got ourselves another pause. Good times. But yeah, it should be interesting to see how both teams treat the early game, because one team has to survive it. They don't necessarily have to win it to an extent. eAe Hype doesn't have to win but they have to survive it, and they have to stave off the early push that's going to be coming out from Clan Dog. Looks like we've got some connectivity issues coming out over on Umarin, but there he reconnects. Yeah, Clan Dog has the onus is on to Clan Dog to essentially win the early game, because the onus is on Clan Dog to win the early game, because you look at what they have. They have a Pugna, they have a lineup with a Pugna, a Shadow Shaman, and an Undying. That essentially means these heroes, up to a certain extent, I would say Shadow Shaman is a little bit more useful going into the mid game and even the late game, because once again, his power as a support in terms of his disables, in terms of the Mass Serpent Wards, is pretty strong. So on that front, yes, they have a pretty cool support in the Shadow Shaman. But you look at the Pugna. The Pugna can go late depending on how they get. The Pugna can go. He can go to a certain extent. He can get momentum if he goes into the late game. But it's going to be hard. I mean, he's going up against a Luna. Going up against Luna, Conquer, and the Bounty Hunter. Now, the nice thing for the Pugna. Yeah, excuse me, guys. Apparently, I was having a bit of sound issues, but you guys should be picking me up loud and clear now. But yeah, you look at their lineup. They now have a Lycan. So if they can get their push on the go, if they can get their push on the go, um, if they can get their push on the go very early, then then they're in good contention, because Lycan, once he gets his own momentum, he becomes a nightmare in terms of the split push he will offer to the team. And once they get access to, once they can get down the mid tier 1 and possibly the mid tier 2, they have access to Roche, which is what Lycan does. I mean, he's not on the Dire, but he's still pretty strong even on the Radiant. Another thing though is this aggressive tri lane. The idea behind the aggressive tri lane is pretty interesting. But whenever you put one of your cores and some supports in an aggressive tri lane, you kind of put pressure on the enemy side, because obviously they're not going to be farming as efficiently as they would, and obviously then their supports won't be pulling any pulling shenanigans, excuse the pun. They won't be pulling that many pulling shenanigans, because they always have to worry about their core possibly being under fire. But on the flip side, going into an aggressive tri lane puts pressure onto your tri lane to get something done, because I mean, an aggressive tri lane, in the way that it works, is that you get kills, you shut down the opposing tri lane or solo, and it essentially means your supports are getting levels, they're getting assist gold, and in that respect, it's efficient. But if you don't get things up, then you've got a problem. Then you've got a problem, because then your supports are getting under leveled versus supports who've got access to their jungle, meaning they're getting some levels, they're getting some modicum of farm. And on the flip side, most likely, in most cases when you've got the aggressive tri lane, your core, if they don't get that much done in that tri lane scenario, they kind of fall under the way. So it's a risky position to be putting a Luna into, but we'll see how they actually treat this scenario. And then you look at the mid lane. The mid lane battle should be interesting, because we have ourselves. It's probably going to be Pugna up against Konka. Now shouldn't be too that battle shouldn't be too bad up against either of the heroes. I mean, you look at the way. Shout out to Snare, who's going to be casting game 2 with me, spreading so much propaganda. Anyway, you look at Umaran going up against Saber. That should be interesting, because inherently, when you look at both heroes, Pugna's going to be spamming out his Nether Blast, and then you look at Kunkka. Kunkka doesn't necessarily have to spam out any abilities, because he has the Tidebringer. So that essentially means he's going to be getting his last hits, and in that respect, I think Pugna may have a problem in terms of sustaining himself in the lane. But I'd say the Kunkka should win out that lane, but Saber will be getting some farm. I think the bigger thing for Saber is how quick his team's push can get online. And yeah, we're just waiting for a restarting PC right now. An interesting battle should be Super versus Super versus who's on the clockwork. Let's see who's on the clockwork. Over on the clockwork, we have Ninja Bunny. Yes, Super versus Ninja Bunny on the clockwork and the bounty hunter. That should be an interesting battle, because I don't think either of them is going to be edging the other one out, but very early on, I think Clockwork should have the edge. Super shouldn't be getting very aggressive in that lane. I mean, both of them will be getting their farm, but Clockwork should have the edge. I mean, he's already gone for Battery Assault on level 1. So obviously Super needs to be on the lookout if he ever thinks of getting aggressive over onto Clockwork. Interesting. Would he have? Is there a particular reason he's going for the Battery Assault over getting Cogs first? Because I'm not entirely sure, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But yeah, looks like our Kunka has finally reconnected, and he DC'd in TeamSpeak. So we've still got some problems. Warcraft 3 reconnect feature too good. What? What madness is this? Oh goodness. But yeah, in any event, this this specific matchup is very important to both teams because it's the semi-finals, the shot to make it to the finals. I'm not entirely sure if the format is double elimination or single elimination, but yeah, it's the semi-finals, and the winning team goes to the finals, which I'm assuming is the grand finals, um, and a chance to take it all. So both teams will be looking to play their best. Both teams will be pulling out all the stops and giving you guys a show. And it looks like they're ready to get the match underway. Okay, this five-man rotation. The only thing they've gotten out of this five-man rotation is the fact that they blocked this camp, which eAe should know that this camp is blocked. So and on that note, it signals to me that Dog aren't expecting an aggressive tri lane. I mean, you don't really block. You don't block the enemy camp, the enemy pull camp if you're expecting an aggressive tri lane, because that pull camp is not going to be of use to them. And it's not like Super's going to be using the. It's not like Super's going to be especially using that that camp for much. So on that front, some mind games being played by eAe hype. I think Dog's going to be a little bit surprised when they see three heroes show up on their safe lane. Good lord, we've got an emoji war going on. But yeah, I'd say that's some 200 gold being invested with probably no returns because, as I mentioned, this is an aggressive tri lane. Now the question is, do these guys have a sentry for that specific use as well? Because their block would actually, if they were to block the enemy pole camp, they would be in a better position, because that would mean, in terms of trying to get things done on their try versus try situation, it would essentially mean the supports coming out on Dog don't have an easy access to extra levels through the camps, and that would mean the tri lane would constantly be on a 3 versus 3 matchup, which I think should favor eAe hype. But yeah, this should be interesting. It should be interesting to see how they react to the tri lane coming out. But then you always have to keep you always have to keep an eye on the fact that there is an undying in tri lane situations. Specifically in the first few levels, he's quite strong. We've got some decay going on, but just to dissuade New Cake from doing anything funny. But now they should know. Now they should know that there's an aggressive tri lane, and that is going to be interesting to see how they deal with that. We've got some D wards going out. Chilla is sitting there under guise of invis. Ooh. New Cake must know, and we've got a Ray 5 blast catching Chilla. There goes your concussive shot. Chilla may be in a world of trouble, but it looks like they're not gonna commit to try and get the kill. Ooh, who's gonna take down the sentry first? And it looks like Dog actually winning out the sentry war. But yeah, this is gonna be the lane to watch. This is gonna be the lane to watch. Mid lane is a little bit interesting. I see it looks like Pugner's getting some decent farm. He's actually ahead on the CS charts. He's sitting at 7 for 0, and then the next three on the CS board would be will be over on eAe hype side. So we've got Kunka going 741. We've got Super on the bounty hunter going for 541. So his lane is going pretty well. But yeah, I think when you think about the tri lane that these guys have, it doesn't really matter if they don't get kills, because essentially they're still securing Fane's some good farm. And I mean, Dog is going to be a little bit hard pressed to try and stop that. And you look over at Shadow. Shadow is not really getting some decent farm, because you look at the fact that there's Beavercus on the Skyreth Mage, and Skyreth Mage is one of those guys who works very well at zoning out melee carries or melee cores. So in that respect, they're getting Fane some farm, and I guess that could be what they need to make sure that Fanes gets into the mid game in tip top shape. So they don't have to get kills. I just worry that if they don't get kills, that Beavercus and Noobcake might be in the situation where they're kind of under leveled. And I mean, you have to remember, Chilla and Sayu have access to the pole camp. So that's one thing that they always need to keep in mind. But yeah, they're going toe to toe in the CS board in terms of the cores. I think the only core right now who's getting some good CS over on Dark Side is Saber on his Pugna. But essentially, him and Umaran are kind of going toe to toe in terms of what they're doing. And I think if you're breaking even with a Kunka, and you've got a lineup that needs to get online much quicker, then you've got a bit of a problem, because like I said, the onus is on Dog to make sure they get something done. Looks like we've got Sayu trying to secure himself some levels, getting off the pool. I'm actually quite surprised eAe Hype didn't go for the pool, but I guess they were trying to contest this area in terms of any vision that might be going that way. And I'm pretty sure they know now that there's vision in that area. Noobcake going very aggressively. Oh, looks like Umaran Bra almost lost his life there as some Pugna blasts went out. We've got haste over onto Beavercus, so he might be looking to do something, and he's wrapping around. The question is, what is his plan? Okay, he's level 2, so he might be looking to go in over on Saber. Looks like they want to secure first blood, and he has the concussive shot. He has the arcane bolt. But yeah, Saber's playing this very cautiously. He knows something's up. The jig is up. They know something is up. Because I mean, they saw Beavercus. I mean, they have a ward there. They saw Beavercus get the haste rune. This is kind of like a Mexican standoff right now. Both tri lanes are trying not to overcommit, not to leave their cause out in the lurch. I think eAe Hype want to be the first ones to get something done, but they're not under that much pressure to get something done. So we'll see what their plan is. And over on Dark Side, they need to get something done, because you look at the CS war right now. I mean, Shadow he's finally getting some decent CS. You look, he's sitting at 19 for 1. We've got an arcane bolt catching Sayu there. There goes another arcane bolt. Just trying to make sure he's wary about getting that last hit. But yeah, it looks like we've got a very static game underway right now. And as static as this game is right now, it kind of favors eAe. And I know, whenever you're on a tri-lane scenario, an aggressive tri-lane, usually a static game doesn't favor you, because your supports end up being under-leveled. But like I said, Dog kind of has the lineup that wants to get online very early, and if they don't get online very early, they don't take your towers. I mean, they need to once we move into the mid game, these tier ones need to go down very quickly. We've got Shackles over onto Noob Cake. There goes their totem. Noob Cake is in a world of trouble, and there goes First Blood going the way of Saber. We've got a hookshot connecting, but it connects onto an ally, so it's not a problem. There goes another ward going out. We got Battery Assault being procced out by Ninja Bunny, but nothing's gonna come of it. I think he wasted a TP there. I mean, yes, they got the First Blood, but I'm not entirely sure it was necessary for him to move there unless they plan to get a push down. If they plan to get a push down, then it's a different story. But nonetheless, that's a win going Dog's way because they secure themselves First Blood. In the meantime, Super's still farming up. So that's still worrying, and considering that the kill wasn't on Fanes, they're still not stopping Fanes. Fanes is sitting there 32 for 7 on the CS board. You got Super sitting at 31 for 8 on his Bounty Hunter, and we've got Umar and Bra sitting at 35 for 10 on the CS board, pretty much leading the CS chart in that respect. And then you look at the overall net worth charts. We've got, once again, Fane's leading the net worth chart just a little above what Saber has, and then the next two after Saber would be Umaran and Super. So in that respect, eAe Hype's efficiency in terms of what their cores are getting is a little bit better, but their supports, as I mentioned, when you're in an aggressive trialing setup, you run the risk of your supports being underfarmed and under-leveled, and that is the case. I mean, you look at their levels, Beavis is sitting at level 3, New Cake just at level 4, we've got Lucent Beam catching Chilla, but what's going to come of it? But they definitely want to go aggressively here, and the Clockwork isn't there, and that's a kill going the way of, going the way of the Clockwork. In the meantime, it looks like we've got a standoff going off here. Super wants to get something done. There goes the Wraithfire Blast onto Sayu. There goes your Ancient Seal. Sayu may be in a world of trouble, but there goes the Shackles onto Super. Super loses his life to an Ether Shock. There goes the Wraithfire Blast catching Dog Ninja, but there goes a concussive shot slowing down Ninja Bunny. Ooh. And that's exactly the kind of aggression that Dog needs to be pulling out if they want to make sure that they win the early game. They translate that into quick pushes, because they've got the kind of lineup that if they win an engagement, it essentially means towers are going down, territory is being lost the way of eAe Hype, and that's all that's what they need to keep doing.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
But yeah, that was a good win coming out for Dog. They got 2 kills on 2 lanes, and one of them was a kill on to Super. So that was another kill they needed to go. There goes Yushura, a few right clicks onto Saber. The Tide does miss, but there goes a few last hits over onto Pagana, and Bounty Hunter Super getting the kill that way. So, some retaliation coming the way of eAe Hype. They just want to show that they're still alive in this game. But yeah, Dog still needs to keep on with their aggression. They still need to keep up with the aggression, because, as I mentioned, it looks like we're heading up for an engagement. We've got a standoff. They want pings going out onto Shadow, so they want to go onto Shadow. Looks like we've got concussive shot going the way of Shadow, but he knows something is up. Ooh, Sayu may just be caught out. But in the meantime, Saber's dealing damage to the tier 1 mid, and Ninja Bunny's just sitting there at the top lane farming. So in that respect, I feel like eAe Hype's kind of wasting a bit of time. But Umar and Bra, recognizing that he's not going to get much done in the bottom lane, he decides to go back, and it looks like Super wants to get something done over onto Saber. Are we going to get Arjunata toss? There goes the boat. Are they going to did it? No, the boat misses. The Shurin toss did actually catch Saber, and he falls. And we've got a TP rotation going out that way. Hookshot. Is the hookshot going to go out? The hook shot could possibly go out,
Dire's
but
middle tower
once again,
is under
eAe
attack.
Hype getting back on the board. They've got 2 kills their way, and 2 very important kills, I guess, because the first kill was onto Saber, the second kill was onto Saber, and you look at Saber sitting at 1-2-1 on the kill score. So they're slowing down his progression, and you slow down the Pugner's progression, you slow down the push, and you get to survive the early game more than the enemy team hoped you would. There goes a shackle onto New Cake. We've got the Barrier Assault and the Totem going out. There goes an Ancient Seal, Ether Shock taking down New Cake. There goes the Torrent catching 2, but it's of no consequence right now. So they lose New Cake over on the Wraith King, but that's a 4-man rotation right now. Well, it's not a 4-man rotation, but that's 4 heroes sitting there in the bottom lane, and this might not translate into an actual push. It looks like they want to go for the push. There goes a Ghost Ship. Is the Ghost Ship gonna miss? The Ghost Ship's gonna miss. Beavikers might actually fall to the Serpent Wards, but the Serpent Wards are going in ham onto the tower. There goes your Concussive Blast over onto Sayu, but that tower is definitely gonna fall, and this is what you don't want up against a lineup that has a Shadow Shaman and ooh. Is super gonna try some aggression right now, but yeah, that's what you don't want up against this lineup.
Dire's middle tower is
Whoop!
under attack.
Shuriken Toss misses him. Shuriken Toss misses him, and he makes it out. But yeah, this is exactly what eAe Hype need to be worried about, because once Pugner gets his levels, which he has, oh, looks like there goes the ward, there goes an Eclipse, but the Decrepify, and that's a double damage Pugner, so the kill going the way of Saber. Saber doing work around, he got the tower mid, and then he just got himself a kill. So there goes the Torrent, there goes the boat catching 2, Pugner falls for his troubles, there goes an Arcane Bolt over onto Ninja Bunny, and that's a kill going the way of Scarith Mage. So they get 2 kills in return. They get 2 kills in return for the Luna kill. So they're definitely they're trading blows right now. But the big thing is them trading blows right now doesn't translate into them taking towers. So in terms of the way the game is going, it's still I guess the onus is still onto Dog to make sure they don't lose much. There goes the Ray 5 Blast, the Torrent onto Chilla, and Chilla's a dead Shadow Shaman. And now if they keep doing this, they will have stalled Dog's push long enough for it to be not that much of a factor. But they can't forget that there is an actual Lycan in the game, and already up to his Lycan shenanigans, going on to trying to get himself the Roshan. And the question is, does eAe Hype suspect that this is happening? Because if they don't suspect that it's happening, then they're gonna be in a world of trouble. But it doesn't look like Shadow's strong enough yet to take that solo. Oh, it looks like we've got Track going out onto Saber. There goes the Torrent. The Torrent catches Saber. Looks like he's in a world of trouble as the Ray 5 Blast catches him. Super's gonna take the kill. Oh, Umarin actually takes the kill. We've got an Ancient Seal going out onto Ninja Bunny, but the boat catches Ninja Bunny as well, but they do secure himself the kill onto Super. We've got Battery Assault being procced out, and Shadow actually proccing the ulti over on his Lycan.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
And that's an offlaner for a solo mid. I think they'll be happy with that. There goes the Ancient Seal. Lucent Beam onto Shadow. Shadow might lose his life. Shadow actually takes a spell. Beavikers might follow as Sayu gets him with some decays. Fanes may lose his life. An Ether Shock coming out from Chilla actually takes him down. And that's an exchange. That's a favorable exchange going Dog's way. I mean, yes, they lost their hard farmer. They lost their solo mid. But they did get 3 kills, 2 of them being on eAe Hype's scores. So they'll be happy with that. We've got the Nether Ward being committed there, just to make sure not too much goes out in terms of putting pressure on him. We've got the Serpent Wards being committed. So it looks like they want to keep their death push online. We've got TP support coming in. We've got 2 going in. There goes the Janata shot onto Chilla, and he gets hexed. There goes the loosened beam onto Chiller. Chiller may just lose his life. We got the Ancient Seal going out onto Ninja Bunny. Dog Chiller's gonna lose his life. Ninja Bunny may just be next on the hit list. He's taking negative earn charges, but he may just make it. We've got a TP coming out. There goes the X Torrent combo. Oh, the Torrent catches Ninja Bunny. Ninja Bunny's in a world of trouble. The War doing damage. It actually took down Beavikas on his Gareth Mage. Saber getting a double kill right now. So it's a 2 for 2 going essentially the way of, I would even say that favored Dog more than it did eAe Hype. So they're taking even exchanges to a certain extent, but you can't take exchanges against Dog, because you take exchanges against Dog, they're gonna be committing into your push. They're gonna be committing into their push. They're gonna be trying to take your towers, and you're gonna be losing. You're gonna be losing a lot of farming territory very quickly, and that is bad news for a Luna. A Luna who loses her farming territory is not a happy Luna, and that pretty much goes the same for all their cores. I mean, on the bright side, they do have super on the bounty hunter. So if they do take favorable exchanges, it's a lot more favorable to them, simply because they have track gold going out, which should skyrocket whatever amount of gold they'll be getting. And it looks like Shadow's adamant about trying to get this Roche down. The question is, can he do it? If I look over at the experience graph is actually in favor of eAe Hype. So clearly they're being a little bit more efficient in terms of their XP. And you look at the gold graph, I mean, they've lost 3 towers, but they're only down by 1,500 gold. So Dog actually hasn't done enough, and the smoke just being revealed. Ooh, we've got a Hex going out onto Faints. There goes the Shackles. There goes the Totem going out. Ancient Seal over onto Chiller. They do get the kill over onto Beavikas. And it's I guess it's a successful rotation, but they only got the Skyreth Mage. It's not enough. But in the meantime, Shadow's gonna get himself the Roshan. He's gonna get himself the Aegis, and this is why you don't want the Lycan on any side, ladies and folks. This is exactly what you don't want.
Just try to kill.
Because the thing is, the big problem with the Lycan, depending on what he's building, it looks like he is going into the Necro build, and there goes the Serpent Wards being built out. We've got tracks going out. That Nether Ward is doing so much though. So much work, and they're gonna lose this tower. In the meantime, Kunkka does take the safe lane tower. Ooh, we've got the Crep going out onto Super. There goes the Ancient Seal. We've got a Mystic Flare, but the Mystic Flare doesn't really deal that much damage. There goes New Cake being shackled up. We've got a boat. The boat could catch 3. It actually does catch 3. We've got Eclipse as well. That's 4 kills. That's 4 kills going the way of eAe Hype. Actually, they only dropped the Aegis, so that's 3 kills. They may take down Ninja Bunny with his Battery Assault, and they do take down Shadow the second time. So the Aegis didn't really do much for him, and now eAe Hype's in a commanding position, because Ninja Bunny may just be next as he's tracked up, so they know he's around, and he's got negative earn charges. There goes the X Torrent combo. Oh, that's a dead Ninja Bunny, and that's a 5-man wipe going the way of eAe Hype, and that's exactly what Doc doesn't need, because with so much kills going the way of eAe Hype, and you have to remember that they've got tracks going out. So in that respect, it essentially means they've got more gold than they would have in a normal 5-man wipe. But on top of that, that's accelerating what Luna's got. You have to remember, she also has the Hand of Midas, and then that accelerates what Kunkka's got. He's almost got his Daedalus. It looks like he's going straight for a first damage item Daedalus, and that's a problem. But the big problem that Dog's gonna deal with is that now that they've taken down all the tier 1s, which is great, but in terms of the efficiency, you look over at the gold graph. The gold graph is sitting at 1k in favor of eAe Hype instead of Dog. So they've got the tower advantage, but the gold graph is dipping away at eAe Hype's position. And then you look at the XP graph. The XP graph, they're almost inching at 7.5k in favor of eAe Hype. The problem is now, with Dog being so committed to a pushing lineup, they may get to a point where actually they're probably going to get to that point now where there's going to be a roadblock. They're not going to be able to push anymore. We've got a hook shot going out onto Noob Cake. Noob Cake actually taking some damage. There goes the full-on Mystic Flare. Catches Ninja Bunny, and Ninja Bunny takes a spill. So does New Cake as well, though. Beavic has also dropped as well. Umarin may be in a world of trouble. He doesn't have any mana, and the Necro units are going after him. We've got the Shapeshift over on Shadow. Looks like Super might be in trouble, but he actually just Shadow walks out. But yeah, that was the Courier Knight going the way of eAe. So now that would have been, we've got the torrent going out.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Saber may be in a world of trouble, and he life drains Super. Super does take a fall to the life drain. We've got tracks going out onto Super. There goes the X torrent combo. Will it catch him? Yes, the torrent does catch him. Will they get the kill? There goes the Red Fire Blast onto Saberzar, and he takes a spill to the Kunka. Umarimba getting himself a killing spree right now. And in the meantime, Fanes is sitting there getting damage done onto the towers. But he may be in a world of trouble. There goes the full-on Eclipse, and it takes down Sayu over on the Undying. That is pretty bold, and he got some reward for his boldness there. So yeah, they're getting to a point where they can contest the push. They can stop the push, and if they can stop the push, they have the better team fight. I mean, it's starting to show itself. I mean, we've got Eclipse going out. We've got so much control in the Ancient Seal Arcane, and Concussive Shot combo. We've essentially got we've got the Shuriken, we've got the Track Goal going out, we've got X Torrent combos, and we've got the Ghost Ship. So the better team fight is obviously in eAe's lineup. And as I mentioned, they just needed to survive the early game. Now that they survived the early game, they've lost a considerable amount of towers, but once they get strong enough, they'll be able to essentially even out the towers, and even with the tower disadvantage, they've got the gold advantage at 4K, they've got the XP advantage. So right now it's a matter of Dog, what do they do? Because I mean, they have access to pick off. I think the idea for them is try and get pick offs, and don't commit into 5-on-5 engagements, because 5-on-5 engagements are a bit problematic. Yes, they have the Nether Ward, yes they have Shackles, yes they have Hex, but it's always a problem going up against that. And we got Pugna Blast and Serpent Wards going out. That's a tower. That's another tower going their way. But at this point, I think eAe Hype's not too worried about losing their tier 2s, because as I mentioned, they've got a stronger team fight. Ooh, Chiller may be in a world of trouble. We're gonna get the X Torrent. Are we gonna get the X Torrent? There goes the X. There goes the Shuriken. There goes the Torrent, and that's a dead Chiller on the Shadow Shaman. Yes, you look at the territory right now. It looks like it's going Dog's way, but eAe Hype is not really caring that much about their territory at the moment, because Dog might actually even take down the bot tier 2, but the problem is they're not going to be able to easily push out onto high ground, because the bigger problem with pushing out onto high ground is that there's so many spells at this rate that we've got Saber being tracked, and that essentially gives out a lot of information about these guys' whereabouts. I think that's another big thing right now. Track is a problem. They always, I think, in terms of what they can get. Ooh, there goes the Decrep over onto Super. They've got the gem. Ooh, the hookshot actually misses. The Crep again onto Super. He 4-staffs. Can he get away? Oh, and he's hexed. He's hexed. Super's in a world of trouble. He's shackled up. Super's gonna lose his life. There goes the rocket flare, and that's a dead Super on the bounty. Yeah, he was being a little bit obnoxious there, and he was punished. He was punished, rightfully so. And now it looks like they want to defend this tower. And I'm not entirely sure that they're at fault if they do, because they do have the better team fight, but now they're going in that fight without the bounty hunter, which I guess It's not the biggest, it's not the worst thing in the world for them. There goes the Pugna Blast, there goes the Nether Ward, Ancient Seal going out onto Saber. We've got Flesh Golem being procced out onto Sayu. Noob Cake loses his reincarnation. There goes a full-on Eclipse. Sayu may just lose his life. The Ghost Ship went out. That's 2 kills going the way of eAe Hype. The Pugna does drop. Shadow may actually drop if they can disable him. We've got Dust Bunny proccing the Blade Mill, but Dust Bunny is taking negative earn charges, and that's going to be a dead. That's going to be a very dead Dust Bunny. That's 4 for 1 going the way of eAe Hype. They only lost Bivicus over on the Skywrath Mage. So, yes, they lost the tower, but now they're getting to a point where they're probably going to be the aggressors in terms of getting the territory. That's a buyback coming out from the Clockwork. Is that to try and save the tier 2? I don't know if that's worth it. I don't know if that's worth it. Then again, I guess if they lose out territory, then it's problematic because they can't get to a point where they can try to push high ground up against eAe Hype. And right now, if eAe Hype decide to go as a 5-man death ball, how does Dog even stop that? Because yes, the ward is a problem. Yes, the necro units are a problem. But the team fight is just too strong coming out from these guys. We've got a Torrent going out, but it's a little premature, and it doesn't catch out Saber on the Pugna. But yeah, it looks like they're content right now. eAe Hype is content with the way the game is going. They survived the early game. Yes, Clan Dog were very aggressive in terms of how they took the early game, and that was what they needed to do. They needed to keep the aggression. They took down the first tier 1s. But in terms of economy, I think eAe Hype were just a little bit better because even the tower gold advantage wasn't that much. And now the bigger problem is Dog did not get that much of a lead in the early game to the point where eAe Hype now has their own lead going into the mid game, and that's going to be a problem. I mean, you look at the XP graph. The XP graph is sitting at a disgusting 15k in favor of eAe Hype. The gold graph is inching toward the 7.5 mark, and it's a problem now because how do you fight against this lineup? You got a few guys running interference in the Kunkka, in the Wraith King. We've got a Torrent going on. Torrent catches Chiller. Chiller is a little bit too far off, so he's not going to be doing anything. And we've actually got the Soul Rip healing our Chiller. But yeah, I think the fight that's about to break out now should be a tell of who is in the lead right now, which is pretty obvious. But they're probably going to take out the ward. There goes the ward. They take down the ward. A Manta Style's procced. We've got a concussive shot going out onto Sayu. Ancient Seal as well. There goes a full-on Mystic Flare. We've got the Shapeshift going out. There goes the Cogs catching Beaver. In the meantime, they did lose the Undying. There goes the Ghost Ship. There goes an Eclipse. That's 3 kills now going the way of eAe Hype. Dust Bunny hook shots in. He doesn't catch anyone. He catches Fanes actually, but he may be in a world of trouble now as he loses his life. So that's 4 kills going the way of eAe Hype right now. And in the meantime, we've got a Wraith Hype Blast catching Saber. Saber might be next to fall. We've got the mech going out, but right now, that's 2 kills going the way of Dog, but it's a 4 for 2 exchange. And eAe Hype being very dominant right now. I mean, right now it's a matter of they just need to take they're going to be at a point where they're now taking the territory. I mean, they've got a Manta Style Luna. They've got they've got a Manta Style Luna. They've got a Daedalus Kunkka who's dealing so much damage right now, and the amount of disables going out from these guys is still pretty potent to the point where the guys over on Dog have to consider maybe going for PKBs, but no one has a PKB, and I'd say Lycan is pretty much the only inherent natural BKB carrier. So in that sense, Dog is caught between a rock and a hard place because there's not much they can do. I think that the bigger thing for them is try and split push. I mean, they have a Lycan, they have a Pugna, they have a Shadow Shaman, so the push is still pretty strong. I think the problem right now is if they want to go into team fights, they're gonna come second best because the team fight coming out from eAe Hype is very strong, and even if it's a favorable exchange, even if it's an equal exchange, it's never really equal when there's a bounty hunter in the game, and looks like they want to commit into Roche, but I think eAe Hype should sense this coming out. They should sense this coming out. It's a reasonably fast Roche, but they should know this is happening. And there goes the Lunar Illusions spotting this out. But the question is, I think they're going to be too late. They're going to be too late. Are they going to go into a fight even with this happening? There goes a Torrent, catches 3, but now they know. The Aegis is down. The Aegis is going the way of the Lycan. The question, does it matter though? The question is, does it matter? Because the first Roshan went the way of Clan Dog, and they tried to get a fight off of that, and they lost 4, and they lost the Aegis. So I guess it's not really in eAe Hype's priority books to prioritize the Roche, because at this point they're in a rather commanding lead. As deceptive as their tower disadvantage is, they're in a commanding lead. I mean, the goal graph is inching towards 14k. The XP graph is at 25k. So commanding lead is a pretty apt description of what eAe Hype has right now. And we've got Luna getting the Satanic. Try killing Luna now, boys. Try killing Luna now. It's problematic. Ooh, it's a problem now. It's a problem, because the thing is, the nice thing about having a Lycan is you can commit into a split push. I mean, he's got Necro 3, he's got his Vlads, he's got the Aegis, but the problem is Luna's got the Manta Satanic build. So she's very she can deal with split push. You've obviously got Super on the Bounty Hunter. He can also deal with split push. I mean, yes, he doesn't deal the most amount of damage on the eAe Hype cores, but he's not something you want to deal with. Oh, Saber taking a lot of tight damage, and there goes the Shuriken toss into Saber. Saber's probably going to lose his life. There goes the hook shot. There goes the cogs. Catching actually 2, but the Eclipse is going out. There goes a boat, and just like that, Chiller's down. We already lost Ninja Bunny and Sayu on the Undying. So that's a 3 for little exchange going the way of eAe Hype, and they also get the Pugna, the Saber, and they also lose the Aegis in that way. Shadow will probably lose his life as a Mystic Flare catches him, and that's a 5-man wipe going the way of eAe Hype. And now it's looking like an impossible cliff to climb for Dog. They're looking like they're in an impossible position, because all the lanes are being pushed out right now, and eAe Hype wants to go for the jugular. Now they want to take down the tier 2. They want to go and possibly push into the tier 3. So they're looking very strong as it stands right now. They're looking very strong. It's looking pretty dicey for Clan Dog. It's looking very dicey. And you look over at Kunkka. Kunkka's got a Reaver right now. I'm not entirely sure if he wants to go into the heart. But essentially, how do you kill the Kunkka? How do you kill Noob Cake? I mean, Noob Cake, this is a support Wraith King, but he's just so tanky. He's running so much interference. There goes the totem, but it's taking down within seconds. Look at those glaives going to work. Look at those glaives. We got the hook. We got the cogs going out. Catches a few. New Cakes actually takes a spill, so does Beavikers. Ninja Bunny putting up a fight, but he takes a spill as well. Sayu in the Flesh Golem mode. Fane's going nuts right now. Fanes might actually take a spill, and that is the fruit of over-aggression. 4-4-1 going the way of Clan Dog, showing that they still have life in this game. And right now, that defense, the thing is, they can actually try and... But the question is, can they go for high ground? Because I look over at the buyback status. You look over at the buyback status. We've got 4 buybacks the way of eAe Hype, and right now Umaran actually buying back. Fanes is buying back as well. So now Clan Dog has done what they needed to. They forced out the buybacks, so they need to reset. Ooh, we've got the Tide, we've got the Torrent X combo going out into Sayu. Sayu may lose his life. There goes your totem, there goes your ghost ship. Your ghost ship misses everyone completely, but Sayu might be in a world of trouble. Shackle's going out onto Fanes and the life drain, so it might just be a dieback going the way of Fanes. But they do get Sayu over on the Undying in the back lines. Umaran may be in a world of trouble right now as he tries to make his way out of there. Lucent Beam going out onto Chiller. There goes your shapeshift. Noob Cake being hexed up. He might lose his life. He loses the reincarnation. Mystic Flare taking down the Shadow Shaman. Pugna falling as well. Shadow may lose his life, but he's still in the shapeshift form. Cogs going out. Ninja Bunny being suicidal there. There goes the Ancient Seal. There goes the X-Torrent combo. And that's a dead Ninja Bunny. And that's 4-4-1 going the way of eAe Hype. So a quick retaliatory exchange going their way. And you don't want to be exchanging, you don't want to take exchanges in this fashion against eAe Hype's lineup, especially when they have a Luna who's sitting at the Luna is sitting at 20k on the net worth graph. She's followed up by Super on the, I mean by Umaran Bra on the Kunka at 16, and then 13k over on Super on the Bounty Hunter, and just below that would be then the Pugna and the Lycan sitting at 10k respectively. Yeah, now it's a problem right now because you can't kill. Who do you really kill over on eAe Hype's lineup? I mean, fair enough. The Luna's not the tankiest of heroes, but she's gotten to a point where she's dealing so much damage, and yes, now she's got the Satanic, and yes, they actually took her down. But even if you take down the Luna, you've still got to contend with the Wraith King. You've still got to contend with Kunkka. Kunkka's damage is very scary right now. I mean the Tidebringer damage on top of having a Daedalus. That cleave, man, that's a very potent cleave. But yeah, question is he actually building into a hard, or does he just want the Reaver for stats? Should be interesting, and we'll know when Roshan is up in about 2 minutes. But yeah, looks like right now dog is sitting in a very difficult position because their lineup doesn't really go into the late game, and right now you look at eAe Hype. eAe Hype are even content to go back to farming if Dog so allows it. They're content to go back to farming because there's not going to be really much reprise coming out from Clan Dog's lineup. Look at that cleave, man. That cleave is pretty scary coming out onto Umaran, bruh. I mean, you look at Fanes. You're thinking Fanes is supposed to be the hard carry, and it looks like he's going for a butterfly. So once again, I repeat, try killing him now. Fanes is going into the butterfly, and he's dealing so much damage right now. He's dealing upwards of over 230 damage right now. No, 220. Yeah, roughly 220 damage. But you also have to consider he's gonna be propping his Manta style illusion, so that's gonna be some other damage coming out. But then you look at Umaran Bra. Umaran Bra has already broached the 300 barrier, and you have to consider he also has a heart. He also has a Daedalus, so it's a problem. It's a heavy problem for these guys. And another thing that I didn't mention, Bounty Hunter actually got the Super actually did get the gem coming out onto Saber, so that's another blow that's going the way of Clan Dog. Ooh, looks like we've got a two-man scouting mission right here. Beavikus may be caught out. We've got the Lucent Beam going out onto Shadow. Shadow may just lose his life. There goes the hook shot. Cogs catching Beavikus. Beavikus actually proccing the Ancient Seal, so he might survive a little bit longer. Ooh, we've got the Nether Ward going out. So Beavikus is still alive. There goes your Rocket Flare, but he's still alive. They take down. There goes an Eclipse. Eclipse catching a few. Sayu will probably lose his life. He's actually still alive because he propped the Flesh Golem. Ooh, but in the backlines they lose the Pugna. Cogs trying to create a barrier for them going forward and getting more kills, but it's getting to that point where eAe Hype just doesn't care right now what you've got. They just don't care. Their lineup is just too strong, and Noob Cake right now is essentially the fourth core. I mean, he's already got his AC. He's already got an armlet. This is a support Wraith King, guys. Support Wraith King, armlet, AC. Try killing him now. We've got the wards being procced. Chiller taking a full-on Mystic Flare, and he loses his life as well. There goes a hook shot, catching 3 in the Cogs. Oh, they take down the Reincarnation coming out onto Noob Cake. Shadow will lose his life. Looks like Doc Sayu is probably going to lose his life as he catches the Ray 5 Blast. And that's Rax. A buyback coming out the way of Sayu on the Undying. But Hype got what they got. They got the prize. I mean, they got a 5-man wipe going their way, but they got the prize. They got the Rax. They're gonna try and take out another Rax. This game is almost this game is almost dead and done. We got the Ancient Seal over onto Sayu. There goes the X-Torrent combo. He's a dead Undying. And this game is almost over, folks. This game is almost over, ladies and gentlemen. eAe Hype's late game just proving to be too strong, and just like that, Savazar notices, takes recognition of the fact that eAe Hype's lineup is just too strong for them to come back. Since their lineup doesn't come back from behind, they call GG. Well played to eAe Hype, taking the first game in convincing fashion. I mean, the game boiled down to two things, two different kinds of lineups. One is a heavy all-in pushing lineup, the other is a late game brawling team fighting lineup. If Dog, it all boiled down to the early game. Dog needed to get an insurmountable lead in the early game because their lineup in the late game doesn't fare very well against what eAe Hype did. And to an extent, they tried to do it. They were very aggressive. I mean, they got the first 3 kills on the board. They were just getting some rotations off that worked out pretty well. But the problem is, in terms of efficiency, the cores were still getting farm over in eAe Hype's side. I mean, Luna was sitting very high on the net worth chart. Kunka was getting so much farm on his lane. Even Super on the bounty hunter was getting so much done. I think the only downside in the early game coming out from eAe Hype was that their supports were under leveled, but they rectified that with some good aggression. And it just got to a point where the push coming out from Dog side just wasn't enough to go up against eAe Hype's lineup. And going into the late game, they survived the early game, which essentially meant they had the mid game in tow, they had the late game in tow, and just like that, as game 1 going the way of eAe Hype. I'm your host Sync D from eAe Gaming. Join me as I take it as they take it to game 2. Dog will be trying to keep the dream alive by taking it 1-1, and eAe Hype will be looking to close it out at a 2-0 victory. Tune in for game 2, ladies and folks.